We put together a boots-on-the-ground investigation because we couldn't continue to see a situation where on Saturday, this congresswoman goes and speaks next to a guy who calls for genociding Jews and destroying America, and on Monday, she gets a classified briefing. Remember, folks, she's on the Foreign Affairs Committee. She gets briefed by the three-letter agencies. Meanwhile, she's called for abolishing DHS. Well, we're about to show a reason why she might want to abolish DHS and abolish ICE, because she engaged in a fraudulent immigration scheme, an illegal one, a felony, multiple felonies, with her own brother, married her own brother, legally speaking. We've got her dead to rights. That's what we're going to prove at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific. And hopefully this leads the Democrats to at least, I want her off of the Foreign Affairs Committee this afternoon.
Ladies and gentlemen, when the government doesn't do its job, sometimes it's upon us to do it for ourselves. And sometimes it may feel or seem fruitless, but as I've said, even the smallest actions can have the biggest effects. Now, Jacob Wool got banned from Twitter about 48 hours ago, and then we were all we've been lulled into this comfort zone where, yes, we're all just getting banned for our political speech, but there's actually a next level to this. They banned Jacob Wool, and they chose this moment because he's about to expose Ilahn Omar, ladies and gentlemen. That's the truth here. Now, Jacob has a press conference coming up later this afternoon, but he joins us now. Jacob, first, just tell the audience why you went up to Minnesota and what people can expect from your press conference this afternoon.
Well, Owen, we put out a petition to remove Ilahn Omar. She's made anti-Semitic remarks, but that's the least of the concern. She's made anti-American remarks, anti-Christian remarks, just about everything you can imagine besides Islamicists who she seems to love. She speaks to Islamic Relief. She's backed by c.a.i.r. She supported Hezbollah. She called for ISIS terrorists to receive a more lenient sentence in a terror case, wrote a personal letter, and served as their character witness in a case. So she is a terror sympathizer. She's an anti-Semite. She's anti-American. And 200,000 Americans, almost as many as voted for her, agreed with us. So we said, we got to do something about this. We put out fundraising emails. We put out periscopes. We crowdsourced an operation, and we brought a 12-man team of former military intelligence guys, Laura Loomer, one of the top investigative journalists in the country, myself, who does this in a political and corporate realm, and several others, Ali Alexander, who's on the show frequently. And we went up to Minnesota, and we just treated this like, you know what? The DHS isn't going to do their job. The FBI is not going to do their job here. So we're going to have to do it for them. And we went on the ground with the intent of figuring out, did Ilahn Omar marry her brother? In other words, she admitted to marrying this Elmi character. The question became, is that her brother? So we went there, we interviewed human sources, we made it happen. And today at 3 p.m., we're going to present our findings in a very meticulous dossier at the Gaylord at CPAC. So it's going to be fantastic.
Wow, so there's going to be a huge audience for this, and the information is at jihadilhan.com, folks, and I imagine that that's where people can also find the live streams. Where can they find the live streams of this press conference?
Well, I know it's going to be on Right Side Broadcasting Network, RSBN, and I'm sure you guys are free to take the stream as well for folks that are watching InfoWars. You'd have to talk to them about that, and I'm sure it'll be on a variety of periscopes otherwise, but I'd support Right Side if you're going to watch something, and don't watch one of these lefties periscopes, because they're all there, all the fake news journalists, and they're going to try to be tossing this thing down. But we're going to be right there in the main lobby at CPAC. We'll lead a massive press conference, and we're going to go over the facts, and the Democrats are going to have to decide. Either yes, Ilahn Omar married her brother in a fraudulent scheme against the United States, and so she has to resign, or yes, she did that, but we're okay with it. That's the only choice left they're going to have from a messaging standpoint after we present our findings.
And I have confirmed we will be airing your press conference here on the Alex Jones Show, folks, so we will be carrying that as well. And, just to take a step back from this, Jacob, because you're going to be revealing really the gruesome details of this during the press conference, but just to take a step back, the Democrats, which were never officially involved with the Women's March. I mean, yes, obviously they were involved, through people speaking and the political agenda and everything. But like, as far as directly funding or doing any sort of, fundraising, They were never really involved in that. Well, this year, the DNC came out and made a statement disavowing the Women's March for its anti-Semitism. Now, obviously, that involves Linda Sarsour and her anti-Semitic remarks and her hate for America and Israel. But what I'm a little perturbed at here, it just shows you how the Democrats, they can't even think in multiple layers or multiple dimensions. It's just like they can only think on one path. It's like in a little box. It's like, uh-oh, here's Linda Sarsour, clearly anti-Semitic, hates Israel. We need to make a statement about this. There's a lot of Jewish Americans that vote for us, so we disavow, the DNC says we disavow, the Democrats disavow the Women's March for its anti-Semitism. But wait a second, if they're going to disavow the Women's March for its anti-Semitism, how come they haven't disavowed Ilhan Omar?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she is as anti-Semitic as they come. She could be a featured speaker at a Hezbollah event, and she's refused to disavow that group, by the way. And I mean, look, just last Saturday, while we were in Minnesota, in fact, she flew down to Tampa for the night, and she spoke to a group called Islamic Relief that's been sanctioned as a material supporter of terrorism, namely groups like ISIS and Hamas, alongside a gentleman, or let's not call him a gentleman, alongside an animal who has called for all Jews to be genocided. Speaks right alongside him, featured speakers list.
But nobody's calling him Hitler.
No, Trump's the bad guy who's got, Jewish grandchildren, Jewish children, you name it. He's the Hitler, according to the mainstream media.
Klein was on Michael Savage yesterday. He said Trump is basically Jewish.
Yeah, I agree. I called him the first Jewish president, the first Zionist president, however people want to put it. And of course, when you expose Ilhan Omar, this is now a pattern. Laura Loomer comes out with bombshell reporting against Ilhan, banned from Twitter after c.a.i.r lobbies them. Jacob Engels, who I know has been on this network, worked on Stop the Steal, works with Roger Stone. Jacob Engels goes out and reports on Ilhan Omar, banned just this last week. And now myself, and I was expecting this, I knew this would happen, and I told everybody, they're going to take me out of Twitter. It's a matter of time, but I'm going to go out with a bang. So my last tweet was announcing these findings that are coming out Thursday, coming out today at 3 p.m. now, and they banned me about 2 hours later and made up some excuse that I've run fake accounts. I've only ran one account ever that wasn't, an officially sanctioned individual or company account, and it was an experiment account to see how people would support Howard Schultz. So this whole idea of running fake accounts, it's just insanity. They banned me because c.a.i.r lobbied them.
Well, that's just the whole thing. I've learned this. I talked about this earlier. The left right now is engaged in a next level of mental illness. It's pathological, perpetual projection. And so here's the thing. First of all, as if you creating some side account is even some big deal. It's like, okay, I want to have an anonymous account, or I want to have, this account for posting this or whatever. A ton of people do that. It's perfectly normal.
AOC's got 600,000 bots.
But that's my point. They're the ones that actually make fake accounts. Like, they're the ones that actually do the whole botnet. I mean, they even admitted it during the Alabama race for the special election. They're like, oh, we tested all of these bots to see how they would influence the election. Wait a second. You're the ones complaining about it. So that's just them perpetually projecting. Again, they're the ones that have the fake accounts. They're the ones that have all these fake followers. And they've actually learned something, and I just figured this out. I don't know what you know about this. They've now figured out how to algorithm these bots into making it appear to be real now. So when you audit their Twitter accounts, they don't actually show up. So they've got it all figured out. They've mastered the art of fake Twitter accounts. And then they you're fake.
They have, and I'm going to be exposing probably this next. I've got this in motion, but they've got right here in D.C. where I'm sitting down the street, multiple floors and multi-million-dollar operations that make the Internet Research Agency look like a couple of buffoons. So the Democrats have botnets galore. They needed an excuse to ban me, so they took one out of context quote from a USA Today article about me and said, sorry, we had to get rid of Jacob. We know the reality. c.a.i.r lobbied them, just like you did with Loomer. They won't admit this, but I'll figure it out and expose it one way or the other. c.a.i.r lobbied them, just like they lobby in every other case. But you know what? I get it. c.a.i.r has invested millions of dollars of resources into Ilhan Omar and other people like her. And now I'm about to make their investment go up in smoke with this dossier, with these findings, with this investigation. So I understand why they want to stop me. I understand why they had private investigators, c.a.i.r, private investigators following us around in Minnesota. That's fine, but we're not going to stop. And just so they know, if they try anything, the report's coming out one way or the other. It'll be dropped. We've got a dead man switch on this thing, so they're not going to stop it now.
You know, I got to say, Jacob, I don't know how old you are. I believe you're in your young 20s, right?
I'm 21.
I got to say, folks, look, there's a lot of times where we can feel bad about America and feel like the future is not looking good and desperate. But, we have to be patient and realize the bigger picture here because, folks, let me tell you something. When I was Jacob's age, and you can see the talent and the drive, I was in sports media, and that's everything I wanted to do. America is changing, folks. America is changing. The youth is done being distracted by Hollywood, being distracted by all the fake crap, being distracted by the bread and circus. They're fighting for America now, folks. I mean, we're just now seeing America coming back, and they're trying to stop it. They don't want you to know who Ilahn Omar really is. And truth be told, ladies and gentlemen, the bigger picture here, if you don't want to get into the identity politics and stuff, which is not what, the point is that Ilahn Omar is now in Congress and is a total disruptor, obstructionist, anti-American who just wants to get in and literally destroy the fabric of America, folks. That's what this is all about. There's a deep, intense hatred of America amongst folks like Ilahn Omar, okay? And so whether she's wearing a hijab or marrying her brother or not, the woman hates this country and fundamentally wants to change it. And that's why on the cover of Rolling Stone, you have the feature, "The Women Shaping America's Future." Really, a woman in a hijab, the symbol of women's oppression. Nancy Pelosi, who can't even think her way out of a cardboard box, a corrupt politician. Alexandria Cortez, who in the next 20 years wants to bulldoze all skyscrapers and wants to eliminate air travel. Oh, that's the future of America. No, that's a dystopian hellhole. But that's what they're pushing. That's who they really are. And anyone exposing that gets censored, like my guest, Jacob Wool. So again, Jacob, major press conference coming up this afternoon. We're going to carry it here on the Alex Jones Show. Just again, tell people what they can expect during this press conference, what time it's at, and what motivated your whole investigation.
We put together a boots-on-the-ground investigation because we couldn't continue to see a situation where on Saturday, this congresswoman goes and speaks next to a guy who calls for genociding Jews and destroying America, and on Monday, she gets a classified briefing. Remember, folks, she's on the Foreign Affairs Committee. She gets briefed by the three-letter agencies. Meanwhile, she's called for abolishing DHS. Well, we're about to show a reason why she might want to abolish DHS and abolish ICE, because she engaged in a fraudulent immigration scheme, an illegal one, a felony, multiple felonies, with her own brother, married her own brother, legally speaking. We've got her dead to rights. That's what we're going to prove at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific. And hopefully this leads the Democrats to at least, I want her off of the Foreign Affairs Committee this afternoon. I don't want her getting another classified briefing. I don't want her interrogating another foreign affairs official like Elliot Abrams. This is out of control. You've got somebody who's called for abolishing ICE, abolishing DHS, and say whatever you want about DHS. They've done some bad things, and you guys have covered them, and I've talked about them. But overall, I think of DHS as the last line of defense.
But hold on, though. Let's actually bear down on this for a second, because this is actually key. Look, we don't take things at face value here, but let's actually take things at face value, because that's where most of the population is at here. And so if you let's just take things at face value and logically parse them out here. Okay. We were told, face value here, again, September 11th, 2001, radical Islamic terrorists engaged in the biggest terror act on this country's homeland ever. 3,000 Americans died that day. Tens of thousands of Americans have died since in the aftermath, okay? Now, we're told that this is from radical Islamic terror. We went to war against radical Islamic terror, and as far as we're concerned, we're still at war with radical Islamic terror. Now, here's Ilahn Omar, which I think you could say is definitely, she's an Islamicist, whether you want to call her radical or not, I guess that's your own opinion, but here she is, we're still in a war against radical Islam, and here she is saying she wants to abolish DHS? Again, if you just take that at face value, how is that not considered a terrorist threat when we're at war with radical Islam, Islamic terrorists? Here's an Islamicist saying, I want to eliminate America's last line of defense. Again, at face value, how does America not look at that and say, something doesn't add up here.
Yeah, exactly. And some have called for abolishing ICE. She calls for abolishing the entire Department of Homeland Security. That means TSA. That means the folks at the ports that make sure people aren't shipping in cesium-137 or radiological material. She wants to abolish the whole thing and open up America to unlimited terror attacks. And I can tell you, having brought military intel guys with me, having dealt with FBI sources, both there and other places, you abolish DHS, you're going to see a wave of terror attacks across the country. They stop terror attacks left and right. You don't hear about it in the news. You don't read about it. But Ilhan Omar, who gets classified briefings and does hear about this stuff as a part of those classified briefings, says, you know what? DHS just foiled 14 terror attacks in the past 12 months. I know. Let's abolish DHS. That is subversive, anti-American behavior, and it's got to be stopped. She has got to be removed from that committee, and she has got to be removed from Congress. You cannot have somebody like that in the halls of power in this country. It's unacceptable.
Well, and now you had the story out of Breitbart today. Travel ban ends nearly all immigration from terrorist-sanctioned nations, and then they actually have the studies and the numbers in here with the data that basically the travel ban does work. It stops terrorists from coming here. And again, they want to sit here and pin this thing on Trump. The list was actually created by Obama. These are just the 8 countries Obama was bombing while he was in office. So it's like, wow, yeah, we were just bombing your country for 8 years. You don't think they might want to try to sneak someone in here to kill Americans? Of course they would. That's why we have this travel ban. That's why Trump re-signed it. And so it's like, yeah, here's the data. When we actually do our due diligence and try to stop terrorists from coming in, we can maybe stop terrorism or at least quell it. And then here's Ilhan Omar, who's trying to stop that whole process. Why isn't America asking why? So again, Jacob Wohl, he is hosting a press conference this afternoon, folks, and he's breaking down his research into Ilhan Omar. But we're kind of going beyond the pale here. You're trying to get a foot in the door for people's attention and just say, hey, look, we just investigated this woman. Did she marry her brother? Are you going to accept that? Are we going to accept that? Or are we going to do something about it? Or are you, and so basically you're putting the Democrats in a position where they have to make a decision on Ilhan Omar. Either you're going to accept her anti-Semitism and her felonious behavior, or you're going to deny it.
That's exactly right. This woman is a felon. She's a terrorist sympathizer. She's an anti-Semite. She's an anti-American. And she has absolutely got to be removed from Congress. And, you know, it's striking the way that the mainstream media quashed this story. It was clear. I mean, even Snopes, who would normally call this an anti-Islamic conspiracy theory, says the claim that she married her brother is unverified. Well, not after this afternoon at 3 p.m. at the Gaylord Plaza at CPAC. But they will have to now say confirmed. But they even say unverified, and they're leftist, probably a CIA operation. So even they admit that she probably married her brother. But when they asked her, when the Associated Press, you know, the far-right Associated Press, asked her for a list of her siblings, she refused to provide it. And they said, you know what? That works for us. Story closed. She refused to provide a list of her siblings. It's remarkable. It's uncanny.
Well, this is huge. And again, folks, we're going to be covering the press conference. And again, Jacob, I just say, because, you know, people, it's just like everybody has a role out there. And I'm just so inspired by the role that you're playing, the role that Ali is playing, the role that Cernovich, I mean, everybody. And it's like people want to sit here and infight. It's like, it's like, I've always said it, as long as we're all punching the same enemy and we all have the true same motivation, which is to just have freedom and prosperity in the West and have America survive, then I'm all on board. So, folks, be sure to tune into this. Jacob Wohl, you're going to have just groundbreaking announcements with your investigation. Great work. We'll be airing it. jihadilhan.com is the website where you can find all the information. Jacob Wohl, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
It's time to show them what a real alpha male looks like with one of our most powerful products ever made, Alpha Power, at 50% off. As you age, your body can lose testosterone over time. With the incredible ingredients in this formula, we can help you beat the test of time and assist in restoring that lost energy and mood that comes with time and age. Alpha Power's incredible ingredients can help you boost your sports performance or enhance your day-to-day life with ease while encouraging hormonal balance. Perfect by itself or with super male vitality in the true Alpha Male Pack. Alpha Power can help boost performance, help maintain normal testosterone levels, support healthy cholesterol, and more. Let Alpha Power help bring you to the peak of your optimal health. Don't fall short on energy in the fight against tyranny. Show the world what a true alpha male looks like today with Alpha Power at 50% off, only at the InfoWars store.